כאשר עצמי לכל הצדיקים האמיתיים שלכם, לכל הצדיקים האמיתיים שלכם, הקדוש מה שבארצנו. ובבחן לרבנו הקדוש, ויסוד עלינו נחמן ומקור חוכמה רבנו נחמן, ופגם את שמחה אנחנו ואומן, זכותו תגן עלינו ועל כל ישראל, amen. Okay, so we're going to start a little series on Rosh Hashana, on the greatness of Rosh Hashana, why we need to be in Uman on Rosh Hashana, and all those who have questions about it on Rosh Hashana, why it is that a person needs to be by the tzaddik, Emet. Okay, there's a few things I wanted to do, because I think the most important thing is what Rabeinu says in Chayei Moran, and obviously what Rabbi Natan is going to speak about in Likutei Halachot and the letters also. But there's a few pieces that aren't so known, or are less known, that are very chashuv, very, very chashuv. And that it's like, you get the goosebumps when reading it. There's one letter from Reb Shimshon Barski, the great-grandson of Rabeinu Hakadosh, who wrote a book called Etzot HaMvoarot. It's a book on Likutei Etzot, explaining a little bit even further, going further into Rabbi Natan's words. He wrote some letters. Reb Shimshon Barski, very big tzaddik. He was at the time of all the big tzaddikim at that time. Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter, who was the leading chassid, the leading Breslover chassid in Poland at the time. There was also Rabbi Avraham ben Rebbe Nachman, who we study Koch Be'or, Biura Likutim, the son of Rabbi Nachman Mitulchin, who is the Shamash of Rabbi Natan. So we see all these chaverim together and the ahava between them, which is amazing. Rabbi Nachman Mitcherin was a little bit of a generation before, but you see how all that brings down to the Talmidim at that time. Rabbi Yisrael Karduner, they were all chaverim. So we're trying to see and understand where essentially the emet of Rabeinu is drawn, because we see that they all agreed. Today you see those different groups, this, that, but how these Hasidim really were, we begin to understand the bitul that they had to Rabeinu, which is why there was no place for gadlut, pride, for any one of them. They all saw themselves as chaverim. Like Rabbi Israel said, that the avodah today is en gdolim en ktanim kulam chaverim. There's no big or small. And we're going to see the proof of this in the letter of Reb Shimshon Barski, which is an amazing letter. It's going to speak about the end of Rosh Hashana too. So look at this. So for some people that you see some Breslevers today, to think unfortunately is a very big mistake, and you see even big Hasidim today, so I think it's important to talk about that they speak about Rabeinu very highly, but when it comes to Uman for Rosh Hashana, they be quiet, or they don't go on the trip, or they say stay in Yerushalayim, which is a very big error, a very big mistake, I would even say a very big avera to go against the dibur of the tzaddik. It's against emunat chachamim entirely. And there's people today that speak against the inyan of Rosh Hashanah, thinking it's important to stay with their family, or to create an excuse as if this isn't something that we've been doing for thousands of years. As if Aliyah Leregel was when all the men used to leave their wife and kids on the 3 Chagim 3 times a year to go to Yerushalayim.
And not for a few days.
Exactly. It was an entire trip. Could have been for weeks and months at a time. And people today come up with their shtuyot to say that stay with your family, this is where it is. And even big poskim, big people have said in the past, things you can see on YouTube and this and that, that we have to be very careful of. Because even as big as they were in Chokhmah, what Rabeinu and Rabbi Natan are trying to teach us is that the ikar today is the bitul to the person whose Chokhmah is complete. A person who's able to efas, able to nullify themselves to the biggest tzaddik, the biggest chacham. As Rabeinu teaches us in Likutei Moran, lesson 30, that the avodah today is to search after the biggest doctor. Because it's not enough for a person to say, I'm very far from Hashem. As long as I attach myself to someone who has Yerat Shamayim and Kedusha, who knows Shulchan Aruch, or who maybe knows a little bit of Musar, it's enough. Because Rabeinu is saying, no, the bigger the doctor, the more he knows the problem. The more he's able to descend down into the choshech and be able to lift you out. And Rabbi Yisrael says in Nibei Anachal, his letters, to Zalman Shazar, the president of Israel at the time, who he's very good friends with, who Zalman Shazar actually attached himself to Rabeinu and did many things for Hafatzah. And who helped give money and everything to the cause, which was a very big inyan, a very big chidush. And he writes in the letters that if everybody were to nullify themselves to the big tzaddik already, the world would be already finished. Mitukan. It would be already accomplished, rectified. Because Rabbi Natan already said, Daf echad misifrei Rabeinu yakol et kol hara ba'olam. One page of Rabeinu's books will uproot all the evil in the world. One page. Rabbi Natan also adds many times, if only the world were to attach himself to the tzaddik like this, and Nikut Alachot, he writes the idea with regard to the Inyan of the menorah, the idea of Behalot Chat and Harot, that the 6 candles represent the madrigot of tzaddikim from Chesed all the way to Malchut. And the 7th one in the middle is a tzaddik emet, through which all the candles on the right and left have to point to. So he says, yes, there are very big tzaddikim who have very big avodat Hashem, but the highest avodah today is to get rid of the chokhmah to the point where you attach yourself to the big tzaddik. Because as much as you think you can help them, the true tzaddik can help them infinitely more. Infinitely more. And this is obviously a very difficult concept to grasp because it sounds extreme on the surface. But only a person who has pshitut and simplicity can accept these words and actually focus on them. Because if you think you are something, you will never get there. That's the danger, Rabeinu says, and what Reb Shimshon Barski is going to address in this letter, which is a very big thing. He's writing to. You're going to see right here. He's going to speak about the Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter also, and we're going to see what he says here. Uminyan Kibbutz, lesson letter 88. This is in Balad, and on the week of Parashat Ba'alotcha, the year 5692 in Uman, in. Rabbi Shimshon Barski is writing this. So he's writing this to one of his chaverim, Rabbi Yitzchak Meir Karman, and we're going to see something amazing. Look how amazing this is. I'm going to read the full letter because it's something incredible.
56 what?
5696.
So it's less than 100 years ago.
5692.
It's less than 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So it's in 1920.
Yeah, around, yeah.
So after Rabeinu Pass.
Exactly. This is before the Holocaust, around.
Yeah. Okay.
This is because he was at the time of the Holocaust. He told everyone to leave, and there was many things.
Okay.
So look at this. מכתבך נשלח לי על ידי רבי אברהם סופר קיבלתי, ומה שאתה כותב כי מניעת כתיבתך אליי הוא מחמת קיצור תשובתי על השאלות הנשאלים מאיתי. Rabbi Shimshon Barski wrote a letter to this chaver, Rabbi Yitzchak Kalman, who was drawing close to Rabeinu, and who asked him many questions in the Inyan of Breslev. Wanted to go deeper into the Inyan, L'Shem Shamayim. Look at this. And he's responding back to him. And what you're writing back to him, the fact that you're writing back to me is because you feel that there's a problem, essentially, with my answers to you, that they were too short. So look what he says here. And he says, the answer to these questions I wrote last week in my letter to our precious Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter, who was the leading Chassid in Poland at the time. כי גם הוא כתב יצחק ברייטר. You see how he doesn't write Rav anything? לידידנו יצחק ברייטר. טוב. כי גם הוא כתב אליי כי מניעת כתיבתו הוא מחמת הנם. Because he also wrote to me that the reason why he prevented himself from writing back is because of what we mentioned above, which is what? That my letter was too short. Meaning that they all felt that Rabbi Shimshon Barski's writing as to the question that they were asking in the Inyanim in Breslev were too short. They weren't delving too deep into the Inyan. So look what he answers back, an amazing thing. But nonetheless, I will rewrite a little bit what I wrote to Rabbi Yitzchak about that problem, that he felt that my writing were too short, my answers were too short. I'm going to write to you the same way. Because the truth is, if you were to look, if you were to look properly, karaui, the way a person truly should look with his eye, bitshuvotaya, my answers, that were very short, concise. You'll find much greater taste. You would find much greater taste and a better answer than what you find in all the great answers in all the other Breslevers that are written with 10 times more pages. Okay, look what he's writing here. Because the study is not the main thing. But I know that our Breslevers in Poland, that the chaverim who are living in Poland, because he was in Uman, he was by Rabeinu. All the other Breslevers, Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter and the yeshiva Rabbi Yitzchak Breiter were in Poland, and they were all under following his derech, which was all the same thing. But he's writing that you guys all have a problem with this because you guys are, he's going to say, You guys are all into the inyan of chokhmot, into the inyan of needing such a nice answer. Everything needs to be so beautiful. Everything needs to be so metukan, perfect like this. So he's going to go into this idea. אבל אני יודע את אנשי שלומנו מפולין כי הם אוהבים מכתבים עם דרשות רבות. That the people from Poland, they were in the inyan of people. They knew how to study Gemara. They were very big Talmidei Chachamim. So they love, he says like this, I know that the Breslevers in Poland, they love big letters with many drashot, many teachings, expoundings, that they want to write about great perceptions of Hashem Yitbarach. Very big things. But they do not look in themselves. You see how he's writing? Mm-hmm. They don't look at themselves, but they don't look at their big writings and their big letters and their big perceptions to see if they can find small deot, small understanding, small dot, but true, simple understanding. How to behave and how to act, how to truly perform the mitzvah, how to truly perform the avodah of Rabeinu Hakadosh, whether it's good or whether it's bad. Meaning in the ups and in the downs. They don't ask themselves with all their big writings how to perform this simple avodah. Because the main thing is not the study. The main thing is the maaseh. Whether it's words of the world, whether it's iskechol, engaging in business, or whether it's with words of shamayim. Whether it's simple conversation, whether it's avodat Hashem conversation, yirat shamayim conversation. Whether in the upper, whether in the down. That this is the main intention of all the drashot and all the asagot in the world, to bring you what? To maaseh. To bring you to refine your avodat Hashem, refine your midot, to refine your action. To actually do. Rabeinu once told his students, he said, I see you guys are doing avodat Hashem, but I want you guys to be baalei maasim tovim. Baalei maasim. Anshe maaseh. I want you guys to be men of action. I want you guys to go out to the street to do things. That's the inyan. And Reb Shimshon Barski writes, and I cannot bear this way of you guys. I cannot look at this. To speak about and to write about great perceptions and wondrous inyanim that don't bring you guys anywhere to the tachlit, to the purpose. All I want to do is to speak about simplicity, tmimut, wholesomeness. That within the wholesomeness and the simplicity, you encompass everything that is needed for every single individual. Bechol daga, uvchol zman, at every single level and in any single time. And Rabeinu writes this. Rabeinu writes this many, many times, that the ikar is the maaseh. So many times in the introduction to the Uman, Rabbi Nathan writes, you can see Rabeinu's teachings, you can see the depth, but the main thing is that you apply a simple ma'aseh from the teachings. For example, Rabeinu says in lesson for Chodesh Elul, right? Tonight, we're studying Aleph Elul, right? The first of Elul. That it's a sigula to study lesson 6 of Likutei Moharan.
Today?
Starting tonight for the entire month of Elul. It's a sigula to help your wife be according to your ratzon, meaning to help your wife be nullified according to your ratzon b'avodat Hashem, shalom bayit,
just to prepare
ourselves
to be able to go to Uman.
Exactly, if we go to Uman. I'm sure Rabeinu had a very big kavanah for that. Exactly this. That the entire inyan of Chodesh Elul is that the wife is nota achar retzoncha. She strays after your ratzon, b'avodat Hashem. That there's no opposition. There's no hitnagdut, chad v'shalom. There's no opposite sides. No differences. That lesson 6. But Rabbi Nathan says the ideas in lesson 6 are all deep Kabbalah or Maaseh Merkava. Look at Yechezkel chapter Aleph. Rabeinu explains the entire idea of lesson 6, how through the Teshuvah of lesson 6, through the staying silent when you're embarrassed, through all the tikkunim he writes over there, that you're able to sit on the throne, which is a vision of Hashem Yitbarach, Ze'er Anpin, Hakadosh Baruch Hu sitting on the throne. We don't even understand what we're talking about. And Rabeinu is saying that you're able to sit on the throne when you're able to do this Maaseh. You're able to do this Avodat Hashem. But Rabbi Nathan says, look at the depth of all this teaching, all the Kabbalah that goes from, that speaks about the Keter of Teshuvah, that speaks about the Adam Lashevet, like he said, the man who sits on the throne, that speaks about able to bring life to life and to death, Teshuvah of this world, Teshuvah of the next world, entering and exiting, all these inyanim of secrets of Kabbalah, Maaseh Kabbalah that we're talking about. And Rabbi Nathan said, the main thing, to be able to apply the Segula, to attain Shalom Bayit Tikkun HaBrit, which is the main idea of lesson 6, Tikkun HaBrit, is a simple action. to apply simply what it says in Lesson 6. And Rabeinu writes it about the kavanot, that of course it was the derech of the Rabeinu Hakadosh, and even the Baal Shem Tov and the student of Baal Shem Tov, to pray with kavanot of the Arizal, to pray with the Kabbalistic meditations of the Ari. And Rabeinu took out this derech. He even showed Rabbi Yudel, who was one of the biggest mekubalim of all the students, who knew maybe the most Kabbalah of all the students, who was a master in Kitvei Arizal, and his father-in-law was a baki beKitvei Arizal and used to study with him. And Rabbi Yudel used to study with him. He became a master in Kitvei Arizal, and Rabeinu looked at him and he said, Ladat ba'aretz te'achecha. When he came to Rabeinu for the first time, Rabbi Yudel came to Rabeinu and he was opposing Rabeinu at the beginning. And then he heard much about him. He decided to travel many kilometers, hundreds of kilometers, to go visit Rabeinu for weeks at a time. And he comes before Rabeinu and he says like this, Yoreh lanu Rabeinu derech ba'avodat Hashem. May our Rebbe show us a derech, a pathway in Avodat Hashem. And you know what Rabeinu responded? Ladat ba'aretz darkecha. You want to know, meaning you want to know pathways in Avodat Hashem, your ways in the earth. So what it means is, you're in the Artiyut, you're in the Gashmiut still. What do you want to know about Avodat Hashem and big perceptions when you still haven't even started?
And this one was
a mekubal atzum v'nifla.
But he was still attached to this world, basically.
Lefi Rabeinu. Because Rabeinu, for anyone else, it would suffice. For anyone else, it would suffice. It's like Rabeinu students, if they were not attached to Rabeinu Hakadosh, they would be Baal Shem Tovs. Baal Shem Tov. If we don't speak about Rabbi Natan in the way that we speak about him in attaching himself to Rabeinu, we would consider him a Baal Shem Tov on his own. The same is true for any of the other Talmidim. Rabbi Aaron Mibresled, Rabbi Shmuel Isaac, who was a master in Tefillah, who used to pray, who used to control all his limbs, who used to pray for hours in Hidbodedut. Rabbi Moshe Breslev, those are later students on plus. And yet we don't speak about any of them.
Any of that greatness because they're
attached themselves to they nullify themselves.
Secondary. Because
that's their greatness. The greatness is the fact that they had so much anava in their attachment to Rabeinu Hakadosh, that's what made them attain such a high madrega. Even higher that they could have attained than even just being alone. And that's the inyan of Rabbi Yudel. If Rabbi Yudel was just alone, without attaching himself to Rabeinu, Rabbi Yudel had thousands of chassidim. In, I forget which place he was, in Dashev, Midashev, Rabbi Yudel Midashev.
Bonne chose. So what did he tell him? Tell him you are completely far. You're completely far from Avodat.
You're completely far from Avodat Hashem. And because Rabbi Yudel attached himself to Rabeinu Hakadosh, Rabeinu, he looked at Rabeinu, he says, okay, you want to draw close to me? You want to know there about Avodat Hashem? You're not even in it. He's in Avodat Hashem in comparison to the rest of the world, because the rest of the world is nowhere near.
What we're studying? We're studying a letter specific for Rosh Hashana.
A letter of Rabbi Nachman's great-grandson on the inyan of Rosh Hashana, but we started the letter which speaks about the inyan of simplicity. And now Rabbi Shimshon Barski is writing to everyone. He's writing to Rabbi Tzchak Breiter, Rabbi Tzchak Meir Carmen, the Chassidim, the Rabeinu, very big Chassidim in Poland, who are very big Talmidei Chachamim, and he's saying, I hate all the big show, big drashot, and big this and big that speak tachlis about simplicity. And you guys aren't happy with the letter I wrote about the tshuva, about it for a few questions you had, is because you guys don't look at it with the proper eye. Because you guys want big answers and pitpul and back and forth and machloket and shakla betaria, but you guys don't really go to the tachlit. You guys don't look at yourself, seeing where you need to refine your midot. He said, and my answer is sweeter than all the other answers combined. That's what Rabeinu wants. C'est ça. This is what it is. So what we were talking about Rabbi Yudel, he comes before Rabeinu. Let me see der ba'avodat Hashem. And Rabeinu says, you want to know? Ladat, you want to know? Ba'aretz darkecha. In Tehillim, we know. Ladat ba'aretz darkecha. Your way is in the Aretz. You haven't even started ba'avodat Hashem. What are you trying to talk to me about avodat Hashem?
This was a big kubal that was very close to
before he drew close to Rabeinu Hakadosh. He had thousands of chassidim in Dashev. He traveled 300 kilometers to go visit Rabeinu. 300 kilometers. Weeks to go visit Rabeinu. With his chavruta Rab Shmuel Isaac, before Rab Shmuel Isaac became a Chassid of Rabeinu also. And they dropped everything. They stopped being Chassidim. Or they stopped leading communities. They completely dropped everything and attached themselves to Rabeinu Hakadosh. it's a chidush what we're talking about here, and we're going to see what Reb Shimshon Barski is going to do, which is, this is not traditional at all. Rabbi Yisrael's voice in Breslev, in the inyan of Rabeinu Hakadosh, is not traditional. This inyan of, we don't have any manhigim, we don't like this inyan of grandeur, we want to be simple Jews. Avat chaverim, that everything that Rabbi Yisrael spoke about, and Rabbi Shimshon Barski is speaking about, and Rabeinu was really talking about, is the inyan of avat chaverim, avat chaverim, avat chaverim. And why Rabbi Natan refused to be called Rebbe. You know, Rabbi Natan refused to be called Rebbe. It's brought down in Yemei Atlaot, the book that I think Rabbi Avraham Rebbe Nachman wrote on the struggles that the Hasidim Rabeinu went through after Rabeinu's passing. And it speaks about all the struggles Rabbi Natan went through, all the machloket, all the stories you read there that you can not unread it. It's unbelievable. You're shocked to see how the Mit Nagdim at the time, and even Hasidim opposed the Breslev Hasidim, what they did, trying to kill Rabbi Natan, put Rabbi Natan in prison, stole his writings, did Lashon Hara, things that we don't even understand. Huh? All these things. And yet, what do we see? That Rabbi Natan, with the Hasidim, when they drew close to Rabbi Natan, when they came to him and tried to draw from his teachings, Rabbi Natan told them, don't call me Rebbe. Don't come learn from me. And you know what? They still did? They still learned. Because they understood that the Inyan of Rabbeinu was all with the katnut. It's all with the humility. There's no Admor. That's it. It's over. Well, Rabbi Natan said, if I become Admor, it's finished. Then Rabbeinu's avodah is what? Rabbeinu said, Gamarti ve'egmor. I have finished, I will finish, and now I'm going to become Admor. It goes against the contrary of the entire Inyan of Rabeinu Hakadosh. To say that Rabbeinu didn't finish the avodat Hashem. Didn't finish the avodah, didn't finish the tikkun. Like Rabbi Natan said, one page of Rabbeinu's books will uproot all the ra. So when he says all these inyan, when Rabbi Yudel comes to Rabeinu Hakadosh and he says, show us a way in avodat Hashem, you haven't even started. Because according to the world, Rabbi Yudel was a big tzaddik. But in Rabbeinu's eyes, he had this much more to go. And because in Rabbeinu's eyes, he could do this much more, because Rabbeinu was the ultimate doctor, Rabbi Yudel said, I have to be humbled. Because the job of the tzaddik is to make low those who are high and bring high those who are low. Which is why for us, people like us who are very far from Hashem Yitbarach, our job is to be constantly reinforced. To constantly be mitchazek. To be reinforced in Avodat Hashem. Because we're so far from Hashem Yitbarach. It's like what Rabeinu explained in Likutei Moran in lesson 7, I think. He explained the difference between Moshe Rabbeinu and Yeshaya Navi. And for Moshe Rabbeinu, he was very far from Hashem Yitbarach. He was extremely far from Hashem. And I'm nothing, erase me from your book. And all these inyanim we see about Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was always lowering himself before Hashem Yitbarach. That he never felt close to Hashem. And what's the inyan of Yeshaya Navi? Yeshaya Navi is the idea that he held on. From my flesh I hold on to Hashem. Or all these inyanim of Yeshaya Navi that he says that I'm close to Hashem Yitbarach. I feel close to Hashem. Because for Yeshaya Navi, in comparison to Moshe Rabbeinu, Yeshaya Navi is a low madrega. So he needs to be reinforced, Yeshaya Navi, because he feels low because of the humility he feels from Moshe Rabbeinu. But because Moshe Rabbeinu is so close to Hashem Yitbarach, he needs to lower himself. And that's the avodat Hashem of what we call running and returning. Because for Moshe Rabbeinu, he's constantly running, he needs to return himself. He needs to constantly fall into anava. And for Yeshaya Navi, because he constantly looks at himself so low, he needs to be reinforced. So what is Moshe Rabbeinu's job for Yehoshua? Because Yehoshua is a Talmid, he's low. He sees himself as a Talmid of Moshe Rabbeinu. What does Moshe Rabbeinu do? You have to reinforce him because he will inherit the land. Or what's Yehoshua? Hoshea Rashet Tevot Hakitzu Ve'ranenu Shochne Afar. Like Rabbeinu said in the Likutei Moran. What's Hoshea, the entire idea of Yehoshua? Hakitzu, wake up, Ve'ranenu, and sing out Shochne Afar, those who dwell in the dust. Meaning Rabbi Yudel. Ladar ba'aretz te'akecha, you're in the ground, you're in the dust. You want to know about that Hashem? You think you're here, I'm going to bring you here to understand that you have this much to go. Because when you understand how far you are from Hashem Yitbarach, that's when the avodah begins. If you think chad v'shalom that you get close to Hashem Yitbarach, then the avodah is done. There's no moving. Which is why Rabeinu says, tamid baracha. You have to be konti baracha, running. Why running? Because whether you're here or whether you're here, the reinforcement from down here means I need to pick myself back up and start again. And start doing Avodat Hashem. Even if I can do nothing. I can't do anything. It's I've done Averot for the past 12 hours. Right now I can grab onto something small. Which means I'm running to a mitzvah. I'm doing something small to attach myself to Hashem according to my vessel where I stand right now. According to my madrega. Even in the klipa. And then what? When I'm here, Bavodat Hashem, Ve'atzia she'olineka. Or Imesak Shamayim Shamata. If I ascend up to heaven, Shamata, Hashem is there. I'm very far from Hashem Yitbarach. That's Moshe Rabeinu Hakadosh. That's Moshe Rabeinu. Moshe Rabeinu was always saying, where am I? Where am I? Hashem Yitbarach. That's Moshe Rabbeinu's Avodat Hashem. Rabeinu Hakadosh is Avodah. That's what I was reading. Look what Rabeinu says in sichat. פעם אחת אחר שבועות בתחילת זסלב, אמר לפניי בדרך קובלנה. One time, after Shavuot, in the Kehillah of Zaslav, when Rabeinu was in Zaslav in Ukraine, in Shavuot, at the time of Shavuot, Rabeinu told Rabbi Natan in a way of complaining, איך זוכים להיות יהודי? How does one merit to be a Jew, a Yehudi? How do I be a Jew? והייתי משתומם מאוד לפניו על זה כפי מה שהייתי יודע מגדלתו ועבודתו מכבר אשר אי אפשר לשאר במוח כלל. ועדיין נדמה בעיניו שלא התחיל כלל. So what did he say? Look what Rabeinu says. Look what Rabbi Natan says. After I heard Rabeinu say, how do I merit to be a Jew? Rabbi Natan says I was dumbfounded over this, over what he said. Because according to what I knew of Rabeinu's greatness and his Avodat Hashem, it's impossible to describe in the mind what Rabbi Nachman had attained, the Madrigal he had attained. And yet he was saying, help me be a Jew. In Rabeinu's eyes, it seemed to him as if he had not started at all. Be'emet, lefi Rabeinu, he did not start. He never started Avodat Hashem. Look what Rabeinu said, Ana ve'amar, halo be'et sha'iti yagea bishvil Avodat Hashem, lo ala al dati she'ezke lazeh. Behold, when I started serving Hashem Yitbarach and toiling to serve Hashem, killing myself to serve Hashem, it did not even arise in my da'at that I would merit such a madrega. And even then, I did not know at all what I know now. It did not even arise to me back then to even yearn for something like I'm attaining right now. Because I didn't even know it was possible. And look what he says. Because I didn't even know of the level to even attain. Meaning the madrega I'm at now, I didn't even know existed. How could I even yearn for something like this? Imken, with all of that being said, gam achshav. Also now, mi yodea ma sheyesh od le'asig. Who knows what there is to attain? U'ma she'ochal lizkot od le'aven. And what more there is to merit. Le'aven, and understand this well.
He's referring to sinning. He said that his sinning is going down and he reached up at a higher level. What do you mean?
No.
There's no averot for the tzaddik emet. Because what is considered an avera for the true tzaddik is the fact that he does not do a mitzvah properly.
Well, maybe sadness and everything, things like that, feelings, human beings feeling.
No, but I don't think here he was talking really about sinning. He was more lacking of his Avodat Hashem.
When you reach certain level, lacking of something, it's a...
Exactly. For him, for the tzaddik's eyes, it's considered a sin. A sin. In the tzaddik, it's considered the biggest sin. What we would consider chad v'shalom, pagam abrit, or this, or looking at things across the street, or chad v'shalom, all these things, is for Rabeinu, the fact that he did not pray the word Baruch and Baruch Shema with the proper kavanah that he should have had within the Olamot. We don't even understand what we're talking about here. C'est même pas des niveaux on peut comprendre. Because look at Rabeinu Likutei Moharan lesson 8 over there. The tzaddik emet, not only is he completely removed from Averot, that he did not commit Averot, but even if he's presented in the case of an Avera, he won't even fall into it. He's not even scared of falling into it. That the tzaddik, you know what a tzaddik gamor is? A tzaddik gamor is not only someone who does a hefresh from the tov, from the evil, meaning who separates good from evil, meaning that there's complete separation. There's no bad. But to the point...
They don't have Yitzhara anymore. They killed it.
Yeah, they killed his Yitzhara. Rabeinu already at the age of 13 said he already broke all his tavot, he killed his Yitzhara. At the age of 20, he said his Yitzhara was Malach Kadosh. You know what Malach Kadosh means? Malach Kadosh, ça veut dire that the thing he's being tested with is dinim. Ça veut dire judgment in the Shamayim and how to sweeten the judgments. For example, Rabeinu's wife passes away, how to do the tikkun and accepting it besimcha. We don't even understand what that means. And not only that, Rabeinu's wife had to pass away because of the avodat Hashem he needed to bring down to the world. You cannot even control it. Before I finish off what I'm about to say with this inyan, I'll bring you an anecdote. Rabeinu, when Rabeinu was writing the burnt book, the Sefer HaNisraf, it was a book that Rabeinu said that only a true tzaddik in a generation, only the true tzaddik, the Bechina Moshe Rabbeinu of the generation, could understand this book. Not only would it be possible to understand this book, but you'd have to know all the 7 wisdoms of astrology, science, mathematics, and all the other 7 wisdoms to understand the Sefer. And to be the tzaddik of the generation, and to be at a madriga, not only tzaddik v'lamdan. I don't know who's capable. This book, Sefer HaNisraf. No, it's called the burnt book because Rabeinu, after he wrote this book, he said he had lost his children and his wife due to this book. When Rabeinu wrote down this book, there were so many dinim brought on him from the Satan himself, that the Satan literally took away his wife. And we say Satan like this, but it's really Hashem Yitbarach because it's Hashem's din. His wife and his kids. Now Rabeinu asked the question after this happened. He said, I myself am forced to bring down this book because Hashem is asking of me to bring Avodat Hashem to the world, to help people draw close to Hashem Yitbarach. Everything I'm doing is Hashem Shamayim. And yet I'm losing my wife and my kids because of something I'm forced to do.
By Hashem.
By Hashem Yitbarach. Can you imagine what that is?
Hashem asked me to do something, but he told me if you do it, I'm taking your wife and your kids as well.
You know what, it's the same comparison? It's what Rabeinu writes in Sichat with the Ari Hakadosh. And the Ari Hakadosh brought down all the writings. And Rabbi Chaim Vital asked him for a secret in a certain Zohar Hakadosh. Un fils, et lui-même. Rabbi Moshe, the son of the Ari Hakadosh, passed away because the Ari Hakadosh revealed a secret to him. That he was forced to reveal because Eliyahu Navi told the Ari Hakadosh, if you do not fix Rabbi Chaim Vital, I'm not starting with you, your job is done. So the only reason why the Ari Hakadosh came to the world was to fix Rabbi Chaim Vital. Meaning that he had to teach him everything. And yet, what? He lost his son because of it, because he was forced to reveal a secret. And not only that, he lost his own life within 6 months, because he was forced to reveal another secret in the Zohar. Rabeinu writes in Sichat the Arizal lost his life and his son's life for 2 secrets. I'm revealing secrets like this in every page of my books. Revealing secrets like this in every single page of my book, and no one's paying attention. No one's paying attention. Rabeinu, the Ari Hakadosh, revealed the secret to Rabbi Chaim Vital about the secret of a certain animal, a deer of some sort, that gives birth only when she's bitten by a snake.
C'est le comment on appelle ça, le titre, les daims.
How do you translate that?
Les daims qui viennent, qui accouchent qu'avec le snake.
It bites the yarva. It bleeds. The snake drinks the blood. The deer gives birth in a sense, and then she passes away. There's a sod on this, and the Zohar Hakadosh warns the person reading it: do not enter this because it's a danger. Rabbi Chaim Vital saw this. He was studying it with the Ari Hakadosh. The Ari Hakadosh moved on. Rabbi Chaim Vital pressed him for the answer, and the Ari Hakadosh revealed it. In lesson 13, Rabeinu reveals a secret on this Zohar Hakadosh in the inyan of Avodat Hashem. You ask that me reading it, someone like me, pagum like me, is reading it, is understanding a piece in Avodat Hashem, to apply something physically, a secret that the Zohar Hakadosh tells you not to reveal. That the Ari Hakadosh lost his life for revealing, and yet Rabeinu will bring it in lesson 13.
What did he say?
What is
it?
It speaks about the chardal. What's the drop of blood that she what do you call it? That the snake takes and all this stuff. It's a drop of blood that makes a woman nida. That it's considered kechardal. All these inyanim. What the inyan of chardal means, mustard seed. How it has to connote with it. Another Gemara he brings down. He goes into an entire thing. I'm not even going to explain because I don't even know how to explain it without the book. An entire thing to explain to you the greatness of doing ibur.
What's Ibur?
Ibur is pregnancy for neshamot. How to attach yourself to the tzaddik. That the tzaddik will lift your neshama in the bechina ibur. Ça veut dire de renouveler ta neshama, to renew your soul, to do kaparat avonot, to bring down the Torah of the Mashiach, and so that now there's an ava between everyone. We don't even understand what we're talking about here. But he speaks about an avodat Hashem there, about what? The sinan of ibur, that any person can do ibur, as long as he attaches himself to the true tzaddik. And how, what do you call it? Over there he speaks about the inan of tikkun tzedakah, and how giving tzedakah breaks your tavat mamon. And how breaking your tavat mamon is starting this process. All these inanim b'avodat Hashem, he's explaining the Zohar Kadosh. So we read that, we say, Tov, it's nice. Until you understand what we're really reading, and we say, Rabeinu risks his life thousands upon thousands upon thousands of times to reveal secrets of the Ari HaKadosh revealed once or twice. The Ari HaKadosh. And it's not even an exaggeration because it's literally written in sichat the way he says it like this. So, we read Rabeinu Hakadosh as if it's a simple book, or we read Likutei Moharan as if it's a simple book. When Rabeinu was printing Likutei Moharan, he told Rabbi Natan, I don't want you to leave the printing press, not to leave your eye off the book, because
They change one thing.
one single letter. If they change one single letter, they mess up everything. And Rabeinu said, you think the binding of the book is something small. He said many worlds are dependent on just the binding of this book. Rabeinu said many worlds are dependent on the diburim I say in public. So, what do we understand from all this stuff? It comes to show us we do not understand anything at all. And that's the tachlit. What Rabeinu says, the tachlit of chokhmah, tachlit ha-yediah, she'er lo neda, the purpose of all wisdom is not to know. So when we recognize we do not know, that's when the avodat Hashem starts. For Rabbi Yehuda to come before Rabeinu Hakadosh and to say, Rabeinu, show us a way in avodat Hashem. What was Rabeinu's way of saying, you want to know a way about avodat Hashem? Stop thinking you know. You're in the aretz. You're in the earth. There's a story of the Baratanya when he came before Rabeinu. That there's an entire story of an unbelievable thing. We're not going to get into it because there's so many stories between different tzaddikim and how Rabeinu behaved with each one of them. But these are yanim. When Rabeinu Hakadosh was walking with Rabbi Tzvi Aryeh Me'alik, a big mekubal at the time, they were discussing the tzaddikim of the generation and the missions of each one. Which olamot they came from, which neshamot they had, where the Torah came from. And when they got to Rabbi Tzvi Aryeh Me'alik, Rabeinu explained to him the mission. And when they got to Rabeinu, Rabbi Tzvi Aryeh said, I don't understand where you come from. He said, Amasok, no, you cannot understand this. No, he said, my mission is a complete secret. So what do we understand from all these inyanim? That the true tzaddik, Rabbi Shimshon Barski, Rebbe Nachman ben Fege, the Ari HaKadosh, the Baal Shem Tov, they're beyond their comprehension. So when they say something as simple as, come to Uman for Rosh Hashana, because there's nothing bigger than this, we cannot use our sechel pagum to think for 1 second that there's a logic behind, in this situation, maybe, in this situation, no. At least admit defeat when you cannot go because of your own problem, chad v'shalom. But don't make an excuse to say this or this or this. Because the tzaddik we're speaking about is worlds beyond the other tzaddikim. And that's not me who's saying it. That's all the other tzaddikim, like the Admor Miradin, the person who founded the Tchelet. You know what he said about Rabeinu Hakadosh? He said, the reason why there's so much machloket on this tzaddik is because all the big tzaddikim, when they come before him, they're humbled. And they feel low. And all the low people he brings up. So he twists the entire world. Yeah. He makes a revolution. And he brings up the low. Daremala v'daremata. And that's what Rabeinu explains is the avodah v'tzaddik. Ki chol b'shamayim v'aretz echa Hashem mishtachavim. Right? We say in Vayivar David. Ki chol b'shamayim v'aretz. What is ki chol b'shamayim v'aretz? The Ari HaKadosh brings down. Ki chol is a bechina v'yesod. The Brit Kodesh. Which is the tzaddik ha'emet. Because what is a tzaddik? One who conquers the Brit. It's in the Zohar Kadosh. Man hu tzaddik, man denater Brit. Who's the tzaddik? One who conquers the Brit Kodesh. Ki chol is bechina v'yesod. Which is why we give 3 coins. The Ari HaKadosh said to Bechinam, the Yesod.
Give the Tibot $1 doesn't work. Huh?
It's good to give 3 coins, 2 and then 1.
Vayivar David,
Yeah, at Bakol.
Rosh, 2 pièces,
בהכל. Two and one, exactly. You bring two first, and then you do one. Like the Ben Ish Chai explained according to the Shar Kavanot. All these in any. Why? כי חול בשנה מעט. Man dimyach et shemayim ve'ara. Tirgem Unkelus. What did Unkelus say? The one who unites the heaven and the earth. Why? Because he brings those to the heaven down here, and he brings those in the earth up there. Now we understand Rabbi Yisrael's dibur. En gdolim en ktanim kulanu chaverim. Because the entire avodat Hashem that Rabeinu is gone is the bechina of chaverim, to reinforce yourself by avodat Hashem without any gadlut, to lower yourself, and to say, I'm here to help you, you're here to help me. Umekabelin den min den. I will receive one from the next. Ahavat chaverim. That's the main avodah today. And look what he says here. So look what he said, it's amazing. לכל מי שתסתכל גם בעין האמת וביטול שכל עצמו, וזהו תוכן המכוון של אדמו"ר זקי, העיקר לעבוד על מעשה לכבודם. We talked about how people brought chokhmot within the drashot and all these things. People like to give nice answers. And Reb Shimshon Barski said, I can't stand the nice answers. I can't stand the big divrei Torah with 1,000 chidushim in it that you bring nothing out of it. He says, better one dibur of simple truth and musar that can help you change your avodat Hashem and your midot than 10 pages of hasagot, of Gemara, and this, and Midrash, and Zohar. And
it's just show off.
It's just for the kavanah of hasagot. So he says, anyone who looks with the eye of truth and who nullifies his own sechel, who makes himself small when he reads my answers, he'll understand that everything is included within it. And this is the main kavanah of Rabeinu Hakadosh. Because the main thing, le'uvda ul ma'aseh lechol adam, is that we apply the avodat Hashem, the ma'aseh to every person. ומיניין הקיבוץ שאתה כותב לי, and they asked him a question about the kibbutz of Rosh Hashana, about being in Uman for Rosh Hashana, שמתקבצים מכל מדינת פולין למקום אחד על ראש השנה ומנהגים בכל עבודות טובות כמו באומן או ראש השנה. You know what they used to do back then? Because it was tough to get to Uman. They used to gather all the Hasidim in Poland to go to the one Bet Knesset in Poland, Rabbi Yitzchak Prater's Bet Knesset in Poland. And they all used to do the same way they used to do the Uman kibbutz. You know we did how we did in LA last couple of years? Like we did the Uman kibbutz in LA, they did the Uman kibbutz in Poland.
Because you couldn't go to Uman?
Because they couldn't go. So look what they did. Look what he says. בוודאי זה דבר יקר מאוד. It is certain that this is a very precious thing. But יש בעניין זה גם כן סכנה גדולה. There's a big danger about this. שלא יצמח מזה חס ושלום איזה התמנות לאיזה איש מהקיבוץ אשר זה גרוע מהכל. That the problem with this is that chas v'shalom, something might sprout from this, something might come out from this. That the one person might take a position of authority and might become above everyone else to lead the kibbutz. And this is worse than everything else. Asher ze garua me'akol. This is more disgusting than everything. V'chol echad me'kibbutz tzarich lizaher bazeh. Every person who's part of that kibbutz in Poland needs to be very careful of this. Shelo yeh gorem lezeh chas v'shalom. That there should not be chad v'shalom, any hitmanut, any placing of authority on a certain individual. And that chad v'shalom shouldn't fall into false humility to do this avodah. Chad v'shalom. Ki ad biyat meshichenu, and this is in bold. Because until the coming of our Mashiach, asur lekabel al atzmo shum hitmanut u'manigut shel shum adam. Because until the coming of the Mashiach, it's forbidden to accept upon himself any authority, any leadership, any manigut, shel shum adam, of any single person, afilu mihu me'anshe shalomenu, even if he's a Bresler Chassid. Rak dato hakdosha shel Admor Zal, only the da'at of Rabeinu Hakadosh, haganut b'sfarav hakdoshim, that is hidden in his svarim, hu harosh v'amanhig shel kol mi sherotze להתקרב לאמת. He is the leader and he is the manhig of anyone who wants to draw close to the emet. Look at the words. Uvadai. So look what he says to clarify the topic. One who knows more, one who knows less this time. Uvadai, it's certain. Mishi baki yoter betochen kavanato shel Admor Zal. One who knows more in the kavanah of Rabeinu Hakadosh. V'Hashem yitbarach zikao bechoach yoter, and Hashem has given him more merit, to have more strength. Le'asbir dvarav shel Admor Zal, to explain the words of Rabeinu Hakadosh at a better fashion. ולעורר בזה למי שיציע לדבריו להתקרב לאמת, and to awaken anyone who wants to attach himself to the words of Rabeinu, to draw close to the truth. בוודאי צריכים לקבל ממנו יותר. It's certain that you need to accept from him more than someone else, because he knows more about the kavanah of Rabeinu Hakadosh. He's put in more effort. אבל הכל בדרך רע בחבר. But everything needs to be done in a way of רע וחבר. רע, ça veut dire רעים אהובים. Companionship.
Not student teacher.
Exactly. רע וחבר. Friendship and companionship.
Réa, c'est friendship.
Ouais, friendship. רעים. רעים דלה מתפרשים. The two beloved. רע, ça veut dire the beloved people. ולא בדרך ראש ומנהיג חד ושלום. Not in a way of leadership חד ושלום.
Donc non seulement tu fais pas un kibbutz Uman à l'extérieur, mais aussi à l'intérieur de Uman, essaye de prier peut-être aussi dans un minimum sans leadership.
Exactement. You know when Rabbi Nathan built the kibbutz, the what you call the clois of
yes.
You know the clois behind, very far outside the town.
Yes.
There's a clois of Rabeinu Hakadosh, right, where all the Hasidim used to pray.
It's not the clois of today. Where we
it's not the clois of today. It's outside the town. You have to walk outside, and you pray in the clois outside.
And
there's a certain building.
Still exists today?
It still exists.
How big is it?
It's big. Rabbi Nathan raised lots of money to show you the avodat Hashem that he did. Rabbi Nathan didn't care about any money. This, that. When Rabbi Nathan raised the money for the funds for the clois, he went to all the wealthy people. And a very poor person, a very poor bestseller at the time, very poor student of Rabeinu, had no money at all. He had one piece of jewelry in his savings. And he heard that Rabbi Nathan was collecting money for the clois. He took out his piece of jewelry from the savings and brought it to Rabbi Nathan. That's all he had. He had nothing. And he gave it to Rabbi Nathan. Rabbi Nathan said, even from you I will not take. Even from you I will not take. Knowing the power of that tzedakah, he said, even from you I will not take. Because you have nothing. And you know what he told Rabbi Nathan? He said, you're going to prevent me from being able to be a part of this mitzvah. He said, you better take it. And Rabbi Nathan took it. And when Rabbi Nathan did a dedication, the Chanukah, for the clois, he got up on the chair and he told everyone, he said, this clois was built by one person. And it's the man who gave me this silver piece of jewelry. C'était rien en fait. Everybody else gave hundreds of thousands of what we consider dollars today. The man gave maybe a couple thousand, a couple $100. It's built on him. To show you, it's all about the Mesirut Nefesh.
Why did you build that different from the kever? Why?
Because the kever, there wasn't enough room. It was one small house. The way you see the picture of Rabeinu's old kever, it's a small house with a person studying inside. There's room for 5 people in there. You know Rabbi Natan's kever? Small, this, that, you can barely walk in it.
Rabbi Nathan you're talking? Or
No, Rabbi Nachman. I'm saying it's similar to Rabbi Nathan, like you can barely walk inside.
Okay.
C'est impossible de marcher dedans. Now they built a big thing around, you can pray inside. But the real clois back then was outside. You know what Rabbi Nathan did one year? There was no room to pray. You know what he did? He left. There was too much, there was a lot of kavod and this and that. He left. And he said, I'm going to pray with the simple people who are not breastvers. I'm going to go pray with the simple people in the main bet Knesset in Uman. Rabbi Nathan built hundreds of thousands of dollars, this, that. He gave his entire life for the clois.
And he's not praying there.
And he didn't even pray there in the end. One time, on Rosh Hashana himself, he left. He went to go pray with all the simple people. For no gadlut. Because they were trying to give kavod and this and that. He left, he went fully to pray with someone else. To pray with all the simple people in Uman. Didn't even know about Rabeinu. It wasn't even a thing. To show you the inyan of pshitut, to avoid gadlut. Rabeinu writes, En banimtzan, in Likutei Tzot, you read this. En banimtzan, in Kavod Yitnaseut, in the section of Kavod, you'll see that Rabbi Nathan writes this. En banitza, today you will not find a person who runs after Kavod and Hitmanut and authority, Leshem Shamayim. It does not exist. It did not exist. Back then, there used to be people who used to run after authority, Leshem Shamayim. You know why? Because it says, anyone whose words have Yirat Shamayim, anyone who has Yirat Shamayim, his words are listened to. It's in the Gemara. In the Gemara Barachot, I think. His words are heard. So Rabbi Yedanasi, all these people, they all went for positions of authority because they wanted to fix the generation, because they knew if they were there, because they had Yirat Shamayim, they were fitting to fix the door. Rabeinu Hakadosh said, L'Shem Shamayim completely. He said today, and he brings an entire Gemara, a sod on the Duchan, and how people, they used to do lottery for who used to pour the ashes on the Mizbeach, or something along the side. They used to do lottery. The first person to run up the ramp of the Mizbeach would get the zechut to do the ashes, the dishun, the pouring of the ashes and stuff. and there's a story in the Gemara that some person fell off and this and that, broke his knee. So what's the inyan of the knee? The knee has to do with kavod. And all this idea that today, he explains that, following that Gemara, he brings the sword of the Gemara, today it does not exist. They stopped doing this, Goral, in the Bet HaMikdash. Why? Because they saw that there's no more person who could run after kavod. L'shem Shamayim. So Rabeinu brings the sword. Why that stopped being happening was actually a secret to teach us that today there's no running after authority L'shem Shamayim. In Banimtza, Rabbi Natan said you cannot find it. And so he says here, everything lo b'derech rosh umanhig today cannot be done with rosh. Everything is done b'derech re'ah v'chaver, has to be done in companionship. But lo b'derech rosh umanhig, not in the way of leadership, manhigut. So he explains all this idea, etc., 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 about the inyan of Rosh Hashanah, slowly starting. So we didn't even enter it. There is an entire section in the Sefer about the greatness of Rosh Hashanah, which I wanted to start reading. So hopefully we'll start that next time. We'll start on a series of Rosh Hashanah. But there's a lot of stuff here that are brought down in Chayei Moran, in the letters of Rabbi Natan, in other letters among other students about the importance of being by Rebbe Nachman for Rosh Hashanah and what he said. I'll say one thing that was very powerful.
C'est quoi ce livre?
It's called Emunat Chachamim.
Emunat Chachamim.
Reb Shmuel Heschel Friedman was a very big chassid at the same time as Rabbi Yisrael Kardoner and all these tzaddikim. He wrote a book, a simple book collecting all the teachings, not his own chidushim, his letters, and all the teachings of Rabeinu Hakadosh compiling into certain subjects. A beautiful sefer. Bring the letters and bring different things from Otzar Hayira and amazing stuff. Rabeinu said like this. We can already begin to understand. We have no conception about a tzaddik like this. Rabbi Shimshon Barski, Moshe Rabbeinu, you know what I mean? Rabeinu Hakadosh. Rabeinu said like this in Chayei Moran. Something unbelievable. He says, Achalai. I want to read it because it's so unbelievable the way he writes it. If I can find it. No. If not, I'll just say it by heart. Try to at least. He says, Achalai, essentially, may I have the merit? שאזכה לראות אור בהירות הדרך. May I have the merit to see the light of your footsteps on the pathway of your traveling to me. Ça veut dire, every single step you take to get to Uman, to travel to the tzaddik I met, has a tremendous amount of light that Rabeinu says, I wish I could see the light upon which you're traveling. I wish.
Rabeinu, ça te va tout, Rabbi Natan?
He said that all the students.
So, depuis qu'il y a la guerre chez Poutine là-bas qu'ils ont bloqué, frère, t'en fais encore plus qu'avant, Ragil, quand c'est normal.
He says, every single step creates a malach. Every step. So from the airport, you go from here to LA to the airport. You go a candy bar at Seize Candy, le truc à l'aéroport. You buy AirPods on the airport, the pillow sack, le truc. You go this place. Every single step on the derech to Rabeinu Hakadosh does tikkunim we do not even understand. We don't even understand this tikkun. If Rabeinu said, Rabeinu didn't exaggerate.
Si on n'était pas motivé, on est motivé.
Rabeinu didn't exaggerate at all. But he says like this. I'll read it for you.
Non mais avec la guerre, il t'a rajouté des steps.
Ouais, c'était des scoops.
C'est des scoops. T'as rajouté cette slide, ce tikkun.
40.
Yeah, we'll stop in 2 minutes. Look what he says here. ענה ואמר, הראש השנה שלי הוא חידוש גדול. My Rosh Hashanah is a very big חידוש. והשם יתברך יודע שאין דבר הזה בירושלים רבותיי. And Hashem knows that this thing, this Rosh Hashanah, is not something that I inherited from my forefathers, from the Baal Shem Tov, from David HaMelech. רק השם...
Rabbi Nachman qui parle là?
Ouais. רק השם יתברך, lui-même, c'est des mots black on white, חיים מורן. רק השם יתברך, only השם יתברך, נתן לי זאת במתנה, has given me this as a מתנה, a gift, שאני יודע מהו ראש השנה, that I know the essence of ראש השנה. לא מבעיה אתם כולכם בוודאי תלויים בראש השנה השני. Not only are you guys dependent on my ראש השנה, אלא אפילו כל העולם כולו תלוי בראש השנה שלי. The entire world is dependent on my ראש השנה. C'est pas moi qui le dis. C'est pas moi qui le dis, c'est Rabbi Nachman. Even if you guys pray, אם לאכול אם שלא לאכול, if you eat or you don't eat, אם לישון אם שלא לישון, if you sleep or you don't sleep, אם להתפלל אם שלא להתפלל, רצונו לומר שלא להתפלל בכוונה כראוי, if you pray you don't pray בכוונה.
Je vais aller là-bas.
אך ורק שתהיו אצלי על ראש השנה יהיה איך שיהיה. Be with me for ראש השנה, man, no matter what. He said like this. That's what he said. And we'll go more into it the next time, but
we have to do a whole series of class to arrive in Uman very well prepared.
Yeah, the truth is, the more you study it, the more you realize que t'as rien compris. Because look in lesson 61. I'm saying it in a dibur fashion, right?
Yeah.
There might not be a lot of logic behind it, but go to lesson 61 and Nikut Moran. Rabeinu explains that the entire Inyan of Rosh Hashanah has to do with the Kodesh HaKodashim, has to do with the Even Shtiyah, the foundation stone through which Hashem created the world, and how one who's going to the tzaddik on Rosh Hashanah is nichlal be'Even Shtiyah. Even Shtiyah is the stone that is known in Har HaMoriah, from which Hashem created the world.
Okay.
That's a center point.
Yeah.
And it says the Even Shtiyah is the place where all the judgments are sweetened. The tzaddik Emet is the Even Shtiyah.
Et ça est comparé à Uman.
Il dit comme ça, when you go to Uman, you sweeten all the judgments. Parce que you're encompassed within the Kodesh HaKodashim. And I'll finish off with this. I posted something on my WhatsApp story a couple of days ago, which I thought was unbelievable, about Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri. Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri, in his book, Divrei Yitzchak, was asked a question, in his book of Shelot Utshuvot. Someone asked him a question, is it okay to leave Eretz Yisrael to go to visit Kivrei Tzadikim? A serious question. He brings down an answer. And he says it's fine. And you know he brings us the proof? He brings Rabbi Nachman, he says Moharan Ibreslev. Says like this. And he brings Chaya Moharan.
Rav Kaduri.
Rav Kaduri. Je te le montre. Je te le montre.
Envoie-le, hein.
I'll show it. It's unbelievable. Moharan Ibreslev says, and he says we can understand why it's okay to leave Eretz Yisrael to visit tzaddikim, because the tzaddikim outside Eretz Yisrael are Bechinat Leah, which is higher than Rachel, which is Eretz Yisrael. Higher than the light of Eretz Yisrael. He writes like this. Parce que c'est connu dans la Kabbalah. It's known in the Kabbalah that there's two parts of the Shekhinah. Leah and Rachel. Rachel is the lower part. It's Bechinat Eretz Yisrael. But there's Leah, which is higher. Leah is at the level of the Meraglim, Moshe Rabbeinu, which is why Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri says in the book, according to the Ari HaKadosh, in the name of the Ari, that Moshe Rabbeinu could not enter Eretz Yisrael because he was at Bechinat Leah. Leah cannot enter until you completely nullify yourself. Which is why Rabbeinu was able to get to the Madriga to go. But he says, Moharan Ibreslev, now we understand when he says that anyone who's with him is immediately brought in the book of life already, since the first day of Rosh Hashanah. Rabbeinu, il va plus loin, il amène pas à ça, Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri, mais Rabbeinu, il dit that Rabbi Nachman says that anyone who's with him on Rosh Hashanah, already by the Barechu of Rosh Hashanah, of Arvit, the first Arvit, before you start Rosh Hashanah, the Barechu of Arvit, t'es déjà Niflal. You're already in Sefer Chaim. So Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri brings it down, he says, now we understand because Bechinat Leah is already rectified on the first day. Rachel is rectified until Rosh Hashanah Rabbah. It takes until Rosh Hashanah Rabbah to be sealed. Which is why anyone who's attached to the tzaddik, he says like this, anyone who's by the tzaddik can be nichlal in Leah and already have his judgment sealed. Rabbi Yitzchak Kaduri dit comme ça.
Très bien.
Beautiful.